What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Hope you're doing well today. Today I'm just going to be riding around in Supercross on my Larry. You guys seem to enjoy a little bit of Supercross testing here and there, and I just kind of want to go through all the OEM stuff so far again really. So I've had these bikes for like an evening now. I'm hopping on the day after release just to ride around, do some more testing, switch back and forth between a whole bunch of bikes and see what's what. I done 2 races yesterday. I done 450 EU pre-season race, and I done the NA 250 pre-season race. And I mean, straight off the bat, if I talk about the 250s first, they're a little bit OP. I won't lie to you. I was running lap times literally identical to my 450 lap times, and I'm not sure if it's just the track is to blame or what, but I feel like it on the 250s, as long as you're always on the throttle somewhat, even if it's like a tenth of your throttle that you're using, the back end just doesn't slide out. It's so fast. It's actually unreal sometimes. It's crazy fast. I mean, it made for very good racing because a lot of people were of similar speeds. I'm probably going to offend some people here, but when I signed up for 250 NA, I knew that it would be painful. I know that the general rider IQ tends to be a little bit lower than other series that I've competed in. I don't know why. It seems like a lot of NA 250 riders seem to think that when you race, you do a quali lap every single race and jump into rhythm sections on top of your head, even though everyone in front's rolling them, and it was interesting. After a very frustrating start of getting destroyed by people's lag and so on and so forth, we got to love the Aussie ping. So very slowly managed to fight my way up and ended up getting second in that 250 race. I was like 20 or so seconds behind Mayan. So I mean, it was second is a decent finish, but it was incredibly frustrating considering where I started at the beginning of the race. But overall, they're not that difficult to be consistent on. I think given a harder track with some harder rhythms and such, the skill gap could be increased a little bit. But overall, they were fairly enjoyable. I mean, me and Rum were riding around in a server together just before the race, and we was having fun purely on the basis of how fast the bikes were and how much traction you had. Rum is a massive fan of the traction that we had back in the beta 16 days, and I honestly feel like it kind of replicates that in a sense. They are crazy good. In terms of 450s, again, I had quite a frustrating race. I was down in 18th place as I crossed the line at the end of lap 1 due to some unforeseen circumstances. Again, I got a very good jump out the gate, hugged the inside line tight here on this track, and you go roll double if you want to hit the Supercross triple on lap 1, and again someone just went all the way around the outside, sent it in on top of everybody, and made me look like Canard in Supercross. Just destroyed my spine, and that was the bad start in that race as well, but fought my way through. I was about 30 seconds down at one point, and then I want to say maybe like 5 laps to go in the race. Oh, little front flip, thank you, Boboso. 5 or so laps to go in the race, I found myself in P3, only 13 seconds down. So I made really good progress, and then it kind of all just started falling apart for me. I was riding the Honda 450, and the back end on it feels great, you know, it feels like it grips really well, it turns good. But I was having a lot of front end issues, so like tiny bits of rough coming into the corners, some of the ruts in the corners, they would just yank my front wheel away, and I had no chance of saving it whatsoever. It would fall away from me so quickly. So I'm not sure if that's a suspension thing, if it's a new OEM thing, and I just need to try not put in so much pressure on the front end by braking and turning at the same time. But we'll get it sorted, and overall I finished 4th in 450s behind Three Palms, Hurls and McChicken, and then second in 250s behind Mayan. So I should be happy with it. Again, it's frustrating, but everyone's in the same boat. We're all learning. I see a lot of people riding the Yamaha 450, and I've tried it a few times now, and I can't seem to vibe with it. I don't know if it's a setup thing, or if they're all just running stock still. I am going to have to reach out to SD at some point and just beg for like good setups, because it's an important season, you know, it's incredibly stacked this year. I want to have all of the advantages I possibly can and not be limiting myself in any way. So far on this Fantic, I feel like I'm flowing quite nicely, you know, I'm not setting the world alight by any means. I'm pretty sure there's people out there running 48s, you might even get a 47 by the time this video goes live if people have been grinding the track out. I feel like, so I'm on stock right now, I've made a very minor adjustment to the fork height, and I'm running the mid-soft tyres, and that is all the changes I've made. And a 50.3 there, whilst it's decent, people running a good second plus faster in qualifying. So It's hit and miss. I'll see how it goes. I like everything about this Fantic so far in the limited time I've used it, other than the front end. I feel like the front end is very, very twitchy. Now, we're on a pretty smooth track right here, even though I've got the Erode on 1, it doesn't really seem to be doing anything. But as soon as you get like some deep ruts going on, if you get an S-turn, for example, where you've got to turn left and right really, really quickly back to back, that transition from left to right, the bike feels quite twitchy too. I loaded up Sipu last night as well after all the racing just to give it a go, and yeah, the front end's very, very difficult to control there. This is not going to be a good run through these whoops. And I found as well, I'm not sure if anyone else is feeling this, but in the whoops now, which I suppose it's a good thing, it does add in terms of realism, if you are not dead straight going into the whoop section, you are a bit of a passenger. You're swapping all over the place, it's not a fun time, and more likely than not, your front end will probably wash away in them as well. So you have to be so careful. I mean, I was a little bit sideways going into there, I'm not sure how I'll survive that. But everything's different, everything's changed, and I'm trying to get rid of that muscle memory, because I ended off last night after playing for like 4 or so hours in total over the 2 races. I came off last night actually feeling okay and feeling like I had my head around them and I was making good progress. Come on today, this morning, and I feel like it's all gone out the window again. And I think the sole reason being is I've got 1,500+ hours on different physics, so that muscle memory is still there in my head. So I'm going to have to do so much grinding this week. Oh my god, what am I doing? You can see it's very, very hit and miss. I'm going to have to tweak setups a lot because I can't see myself doing incredibly well throughout the Supercross season unless I make some big old changes. And in terms of bikes and what I think's best so far, I've noticed pros and cons on absolutely everything. Like, the Cowie seems to do everything okay, the Husky again seems to do everything okay, the Gas I found went through the whoops the best out of all the bikes. This is all stock setups, by the way, but I hate the way it turns. The Honda seems to be like really grippy coming out of the corners, but can sometimes have front end issues, but again handles the whoops fairly decently. The Fantic seems quite smooth, it seems very, very grippy as well, but the front end gives me issues, so it's a lot of hit and miss all over the place. The KTM I do enjoy, it's obviously got the quick shift on it that a lot of people love, but I run shift help, so I don't get that benefit. I can turn it off and get the fast shifts up, but I found there were so many times where I thought I'd shift down, but I didn't, because you've still got to shift off to shut down. The quick shift only works for changing up gears, not down gears. So unless I completely relearn my riding style, then I can't see myself using the KTM at all. But it's really, really good out the gate, because you can just quick shift up the start straight, so you've not got to waste those valuable milliseconds letting off the throttle or holding the clutch in to change up gears. So there's lots and lots of pros and cons on each and every bike, I believe. So I do think it's all going to be down to user preference, finding setups that you all enjoy and you like. Obviously, I've not gone through each and every 250 yet. I can't comment on all those. I thought, what bike was it? So I used the Honda as like the primary one, and I think I hopped on the KTM for a handful of laps, but I just wasn't gelling with it, so I stuck with the Honda throughout the night, and the Honda feels good. It feels really, really good. But again, it seems like the people at the top are all going for the Yami, so I'm not sure where we are on that. I'm not sure if everybody else is right and I'm just slow to pick up, or if it is just a case of all different bikes suit different people. And again, you see the front end there, no idea why the front end's tucked in there. I feel like I'm quite settled in the corner. I feel like I was being smooth on the throttle, and it was still going on me a little bit, but we'll get there ever so slowly. It's going to be a very, very long learning process throughout this year. I did hop on into a national server just before recording this, and I made it through half the race before I rage quit. I was riding like absolute garbage. It was on TFC's round 12, so Ironman Indiana, and I couldn't go through a rut to save my life. Even when I was trying to be like smooth and consistent, I'd find my front end tuck, or the back end would grip a little bit too much coming out the corners, and the front end would come up in the air and get me all kinds of sideways. And then other times the back end would slide out in the corners. It's so new, and if I wasn't against other fast people, I wouldn't mind, because I'd know it's all part of a learning process. But part of me is a little bit concerned where other people seem to be picking it up super, super quickly, and I'm not. That's the concerning part, because if they're picking it up this quickly on day 1, then how quick is everybody going to be come day 7 at Anaheim 1? Because the grinding is going to be absolutely real. I'd love to see a stat that, you know, on like COD, for example, where they've got a stat of like total number of kills ever, not just for you, but everyone that plays the game. I'd love to see a stat where it's like total number of laps everybody in the community is spun on any track in testing the multiplayer as a collective between the OEM drops and Anaheim 1. Again, no idea why my front end stuck in there. I thought I was in the same route as usual, but I guess not. And just compare it to like previous weeks, because everybody is going to be grinding their ass off. Can I get a little tyre tap here? Oh, lovely. Aiden would be proud of that one. Very, very sexy. And another little one for the finish line. This finish line, by the way, why have I gone for the triple there? That was not the... I didn't apex that corner well at all. The finish line was giving me so much bloody grief in the racing, especially on the 250. I found myself either coming up too short or jumping it a little bit too far. And if you do either of those things, you cannot hit the triple into the next rhythm. And that triple was probably the place where you could gain or lose most of the time throughout the entire lap. Everything else was quite simple, and unless you completely mess up a whoop section, you should be pretty good to go. Even the triple into this section, on a 250 you could hold like a pretty tight line here where you've got all the traction, just jump up and over. I found when the ruts came in, obviously 450 ruts are a bit of a write-off. We got death spikes, but Stone Rider now knows what's caused that, so that shouldn't be the case ever again, even though it shouldn't be in the game, full stop. Perboso, please fix. And 250 road, I don't know if there even was any road. I'm guessing that now the bikes are different and you've got different tyres and such. The bikes actually dig down a different amount too, because people were saying in 450 that you had to end up changing your line by the end of the race. In the 250s, that wasn't the case whatsoever. I completely botched that corner. Yeah, you didn't have to change your line whatsoever. There was barely anything, even by the very end of the race. Like, even in this corner here, this is probably as bad as the road got, and there's nothing there. So maybe have to experiment on some different road values per class as well, which will be very, very interesting to see. I like a beat-up track. I think it makes for better racing, so people that run hot laps can't just disappear every single race. You actually get rewarded for being a good racer. That's probably just part of me being salty that I can't run heaters anymore and I just rely on my race pace overall, which I think it did do me well. I qualified about 8th or so in 250s and ended up finishing 2nd. God knows where I qualified in 450s. I think it might have been even worse than that. But again, finished 4th overall. So I do think my racing is much, much better than my qualifying. So hopefully that is a case throughout the year. I need to work on my starts a whole bunch. I got decent jumps, but I don't know if it was just a connection thing or what. I ended up getting destroyed in the first section or first corner both times. It is what it is. I mean, I'm not disliking the bikes by any means. I think if you'll see me coming out some of these corners and maybe oversteering or understeering a little bit, that's just where the bikes now will have a different weight to them. So but all of the steering and all the muscle memory that I'd learned previously, again, is completely gone out the window. I could go as far as to change my steering settings, like direct lean and stuff, to try and compensate. But I really don't think that's probably the way to go. I think I just need to learn the bikes, put more laps in on these bikes, and just learn how they all handle. And I mean, overall, in the grand scheme of things, whilst you've been watching this video, I've not crashed that many times, I suppose, in terms of if this was a race that I was riding right now. I think I've been fairly consistent. Annoyingly, you cannot get this quad into this corner clean. At least I can't. I had a few times where I slapped the front end over it. This whoop section gives me so much bloody drama, by the way. Even in the 250 class. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I think maybe I'm just trying to go too fast into it. Let me try doing... Again, front end, please, survive, I beg. Let me try doing what I used to do, where I start in a higher gear in the corner, 3rd gear, shift up to 4th, and then hit them absolutely fine. So if I slow down and take my time and think about what I'm doing rather than just trying to go as fast as possible, I'm okay. I just need to kind of get out of my head a little bit and know that people could be a second or half a second faster each lap, but if I'm more consistent, I will hopefully be the one coming out on top, and I've no idea how to survive that. But that'll do it from me. I think that is enough pain and suffering for you to see for one video. Just know that I'm in the same boat as all of you right now. I am down horrendous. I don't have any special suspension setups or anything like that. I'm running stock suspension. I've changed tyres to the just normal mid-softs, and I've changed the others tab. I've changed the fork height to, I think, 4. And that's about it. I've done nothing else at all. I need to work on it. I need to have it changed by A1 because I don't feel like this is doing me many favours right now. And if you are having trouble, I'm sure you've probably not made it to the end of this video, to be honest, if you're commenting about having issues trying to get the bikes in the game. Last video I made, so yesterday's video, if you're watching this on the day it was released, I, at the very end of it, talk about how you install them. Again, if it's not working, you've not done it right. Like, it's not how computers work. It doesn't work for some people and not others if you've all done exactly the same thing. So go back to the drawing board, start all again from scratch. You'll get there, I promise. And I think that'll do it for me. If you've enjoyed this video, as always, if you could please drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new, I'd greatly appreciate it. And feel free to become a member if you like as well. Memberships are all live. There's 3 different tiers, and if you just want another way of supporting the channel, then that is the way to do so, and I'd greatly appreciate it. I'm going to love you and leave you. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Hopefully a little bit more of a polished one and me not being so sketchy. And I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.